Hello, everybody, and welcome to What's the Story podcast. This is WTS 293. My name is Danny Murray.
And I'm Graham Merrigan.
That was quite a delayed reaction, Graham. Were you distracted momentarily?
I was distracted momentarily. Apologies.
All right, that's quite all right. How are you, my friend? Are you doing well?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm absolutely flying. Graham, I'm on a week off from work.
Lovely.
I've been indulging in everything that you shouldn't indulge in too much these days, everything in moderation and all that crack. And I'm just been enjoying the weather of a nice little morning routine, sitting out in the sun, just sipping a coffee. I'm like one of those old lads.
At what hour though? It's about 5:45 in the morning.
No, like I mean, the sun wouldn't have enough heat at that hour for me. So about 7, I'm out in the back garden working on my tan,
On your
reading a
day
book,
off.
loving life. It's great. I'm very chilled, very mellow about the world now this week.
I was slagging you last week or the week before about your facial furniture, but it seems to be coming on, except the moustache bit.
It's not bad, is it? It's all right. Yeah. I got a haircut last week, so I think that's helped emphasize because the sides are shorter, so it's helped emphasize the beard. I need to figure out a way. Can I go to Turkey for a mustache? Do you know what lads are going to Turkey for? Can I get a turkey tash? Is that a thing?
Yeah, you make it a thing.
Real.
Imagine, I'd love to see you email a doctor about inquiring about hair on your mustache.
Man, I reckon somebody else is. There's fellas out there who definitely have said, I need a beard. I want a beard. I'm going to Turkey. And they've got a 2-for-1 special on the teeth and on the beard. Definitely.
Oh, stuff the lights. Come here. Do you know what I just reminisced there about as we were talking about that? Remember the episode, and we are going 8 years this month.
Yeah.
And remember the episode we did when we used to record in the gym, and me and you had it in our heads it'd be a great idea to ring the hotels we stayed in America, just have a chat, and we just didn't do it because it was shy.
I don't remember it, so that tell you how bad it must have been.
We were down in the gym, or where we used to record on the sofa, and we said bring the MGM and just have a chat with the receptionist or have a chat with the manager, and then we rang a few other hotels, and it was shy.
It was muck, wasn't it? Yeah, look, not all your ideas can be bestsellers, Graham. You know,
that was your idea.
I mean, look, I've had some good ones, I've had some bad ones. That's all right.
I can't remember. I can't believe you can't remember that one. Because we were in work talking about thinking how enthusiastic it was going to be that we were going to create this lovely content of ringing random places in America.
Yeah.
And it was so shy.
Yeah. I mean, look, there was a lot of learning in the early days. There's a reason some of those episodes aren't really available anymore either.
Yes.
So,
did you delete them?
I didn't delete them. They're just harder to find because they're not on the feed. So you can still get them. And I'm not encouraging people to go back and listen to it.
Where can they get them? Just WTSpod.com?
Yeah, there's somewhere in there if you go digging far enough. There's 300 odd episodes. You'll have to go, and it's 8 years ago. Like, it's not worth listening to. It's not worth it. Stick to the stuff in the last sort of 5 years. That's a bit better. Somebody sent me a message recently because it was the anniversary of our first live show, WTS 100, and they went back and listened to it, and they enjoyed the giddy nervousness that I was portraying, and they said Mero seemed like he was extremely calm and collected. And I do remember on the day I was bricking it, but like once we got
the week of it,
once we got the show time, you were grand. You had this weird confidence about you, and I was very suspicious that you were on drugs as a result. But you seemed to be horrible.
What was? I mean, a lot of our family and friends were there, so it was a good buzz.
That's what made me nervous, Graham. I think that says a lot about the supportive nature of the Merrigan family versus the absolute rip the piss nature of the Murray family, because I was bricking it.
I'd love to do it again in that same setting.
Maybe one day we will. Maybe one day we won't.
We're definitely not keen for it. You had it on that 100 episode and the one that we did in the Workman's, the week of both. You just had a shit the bed moment in both weeks.
Yeah, but Graham, it was a huge amount of work to go into those live shows, and I was the one doing the producing, the editing, the writing. You just had to turn up.
No, I was just saying you just had the shit the bed moment.
Because I was doing
one of them. You pretended that you lost your voice, and I had to do it on my own.
Sorry, I was now. Listen here. Hang on a second now. You didn't do it on your own, right? I had tonsillitis, right? Diagnosed by a medical doctor on some sort of horse tranquilizer type antibiotic that I had to take. I think I actually ended up on what you call it? What's the syphilis drug?
Ketamine.
No, penicillin.
The syphilis drug.
Doesn't penicillin kill everything? If you get a drippy Mickey, don't they give you penicillin?
Drippy Mickey.
They do, don't they?
I don't know.
You do know. You've had it a few
I've
times
never
now.
had a drippy
You
Mickey.
absolutely. We're going to have Gary and Paul on the podcast again soon, and we'll be discussing this further then. But I'll let you
We're
off.
going to be discussing drippy Mickeys.
Your drippy Mickey, particularly. I withdraw all those for legal reasons. I withdraw all those comments.
Perfect. Withdrawn.
Yeah, brilliant. We're waffling. Look, will we just go straight to our guest because it's a very, very, very good, interesting, fascinating, brilliant, wonderful guest this week, Graham.
Absolutely. We are talking to the host of For Tech's Sake pod, Elaine Burke, and we'll be talking tech, science, and all things in between. Elaine also contributes to Ireland AM and The Last Word with Matt Cooper. So here is the great Elaine Burke. Now joining us, who's just surprised me with a rotten Balls jersey. It's the host of For Tech's Sake podcast, Elaine Burke. Elaine, thanks for joining us in your dirty jersey.
Yeah, I'm really just here to troll you in the jersey.
Yeah. Well, it's a good message on the sponsorship, I will say that, but the rest is a shit show.
I honestly think it's the best fashion item we've had on this podcast. I mean, we've had some fashionistas on the podcast over the years, and we only had Neil Lamorne on a couple of weeks ago, Graham. So, you know, I mean, listen, great choice, Elaine. Great choice.
I think they only actually got frequent bows as well.
Good.
Because they're cool club.
Oh yeah, the hipster.
Seen that at the women's game last Saturday. It's great.
I know, and I got tickets to see her today, and I was like, oh no, she's wearing bows as well. It's just taking over my life. All the people I like are just turning up in Bows jerseys.
that should be a message to you, my friend. That should be a message to you.
It should be a message. Anyway, Elaine, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah. Busy these days talking about tech. As I'm sure you well know. Everyone's interested now in the stuff that I cover, which is really fun.
That's great though, isn't it? Because like the podcast has obviously hit off like.
Yeah. It's getting a great reception. And it's a great opportunity to talk to you guys, and maybe some of your listeners will listen to our podcast and enjoy it. Because it's a bit like what you do, where we have a chat about these things, but we also bring in experts, and we try to lean towards like science-led experts as well, and give them the time to kind of explain things, but not in an inaccessible way. It's all very accessible, and hopefully makes people think about tech a bit differently. Like, we try not to borrow too much from the idea of tech that is actually sold to us by tech companies a lot of the time, which is that we need any of this stuff. We're actually quite tech skeptical for two science and technology journalists, because I think a lot of the issues in tech that I have are that it's just this kind of capitalist consumerist machine, rather than something that's practical and useful. Like, you can call it a technological revolution, but that revolution is putting stickers on your Instagrams. Like, how fucking useful really is that?
Yeah,
love an old sticker, mate. Right, but before we go any further, then let's get the plug in nice and early so that people do go, and lads do hit subscribe and all that kind of crack. What's the podcast called? Where can you get it and all that crack, Elaine?
Yeah, so it's For Tech's Sake pod. So like for feck's sake, but for tech's sake. The idea being like some tech is just for tech's sake, and we talk a bit about that. And you can get it anywhere you get your podcasts. We also have like bonus content with the Head Stuff Podcast Network. It's just the full interviews that we have with, if you're really, really interested in the experts that we heard from. And it comes out every fortnight. So there'll be one coming out next on the 14th of June.
Brilliant.
Now, I remember. Sorry, Dan. I remember when I first saw you was on Ireland AM, and as soon as you said, or as soon as Mero maybe or Tommy said, Elaine from For Tech's Sake, I was like, For Tech, what? And then I listened, and I was like, holy shit! And I said months ago, Dan, we need to get this girl on the pod. She was like, because the interview was like you said there about accessible. The language was accessible. It was easy to listen to, and not to be kind of disrespectful, but you know that those books where it has like something for dummies, is that those type of books?
Yeah.
You know, it was great. Like I wasn't bored by it, you know, and I was working, and I was like, Deadly. That was brilliant. And again, most recently, when you were talking to them about AI, that just blew my mind again. So I think you're doing brilliant work, Elaine.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry,
So,
Dan, go on.
no, I was going to say on the for tech sake buzz and on what you were saying there a second ago about some stuff just seeming like it's for the sake of it. Earlier this week, Apple had their big show, and I think everyone with a brain kind of went, "Hang on a second, they're asking for about $3,500 for what?
Yeah.
What
They're
is
asking,
this?"
they're asking for $3,500 for you to be part of their R&D machine. Because this isn't a proven concept at all. They don't have like a need that they've identified for this technology, and they're just kind of throwing it out there and being a bit like, what are we going to do with this? Now, to be fair to Apple, that conference that was announced, that is their worldwide developers conference. It is aimed at developers, but they had like 1,000 from the press corps there, which is really funny because people used to turn up to these things for the live event. Like it used to be Steve Jobs would come out and announce something, and then you get your hands on it afterwards. They still get to trial the things afterwards, but they just had to sit there watching a screen that was a pre-recorded presentation from Apple. So there wasn't even a live presentation, even for the people who were in Apple Park in San Francisco, which is like a joke. So you're watching a pre-recorded presentation of a concept that presumes that in your life you would want to operate with a screen strapped to your face, and it's just so far removed from what anyone would like to do in their lives. It's just demented.
Where would someone wear these yokes? Like I was watching it going, like who asked for this? Nobody asked for this.
And like they had in their clip, they had and that's funny as well, because like you can't really do a good presentation of VR technology. People have to use it to actually understand how it works. So it's all just these like CGI graphics. So it's like, yeah, but does it actually look like that? Does it actually work like that? And they showed this woman taking it out of like her suitcase in a hotel room so she could do some work. And I'm just sitting there thinking, it's like, yeah, I could do that with my phone. I could take my phone out and I could work anywhere. I could do so much work on my phone. Smartphones are a great thing for that. Also a bad thing because they make us work too much and turn us into working robots, which is a whole other thing that the tech world tries to do to you. All this talk of like optimization and the quantified self, that's just tech trying to turn people into like the most efficient workers they can be.
Big time.
Big time. It's like I was kind of baffled by when Zuckerberg was banging on about the metaverse, and then everyone got really giddy because suddenly in the metaverse you could have legs, and it was seen as this big huge thing, and I was like, is this for real? Like, is this
the legs weren't even generated in the metaverse. That was CGI'd. They did that with motion capture just for the sake of the presentation. And this is what I mean about the fakeness of the presentations as well. So Steve Jobs is the one who started that whole big tech announcement, like making a big hoo-ha about it thing. But it's only ever gotten worse since his death, instead of anyone being able to improve on that. And yeah, like there's a lot of this kind of like pre-recorded demos and like shortened sequences and stuff like that. And it's like, reporters then take that information and then write that up as if that's it. Like, this is the technology that they presented. This is what it is. It's like, that's not what it is. Did you get your hands on it? What did it feel like? Did it actually work the way they said it would? Like, what actually has happened here and what has been announced? And in the case of like the metaverse one, he was all like, we got legs, and people were screaming and hooting and hollering. And then after the fact, it was like, no, they didn't have legs. They were done via motion capture because he didn't have anything like that software ready in time for the presentation.
Like the whole thing about VR is just mad. I got to have a little go of VR before, where I got to put on a headset and I fell over because of it, right? Because they had a couple of programs where, and it was like, you want to go to Everest Base Camp? And I was like, yeah, I do. So I'm just going along. And like, in fairness, you do kind of, because you're looking around, oh, Jesus, do you know what I mean? And, but like, it's great for about 5 minutes. And after that, you're very self-conscious and you're a bit kind of like, I'm wandering around a living room with this headset on. I'm not actually fighting zombies.
Yeah,
like it's
you look like a dog.
Yeah.
Because the things are big, massive. There's nothing like we
are they heavy? Are they heavy?
Depending on the model, like the newer models, they're making them lighter because obviously that's a big problem. You get neck strain, like we bad enough with our thumb strain that we have these days. Like you get really bad physical problems with using some of the older versions of this, but that's what they're optimizing for now. But it's like what you said there's like fun things that you can do with this stuff, but is there any demand for that? I see them as kind of being as relevant as, you know, like the 4D cinema in the theme park. You know, that's fun when you're out on a day out in the theme park, but no one gives a shit about having that at home. And like, it's just like, when you get like Zuckerberg getting really excited about this stuff, and he's really excited about it, he rebranded his entire multi-billion-dollar company around this concept. And it's just like, yeah, it turns out a billionaire since he was in his early 20s doesn't have a fucking clue what normal people want from life.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
shock. But it is, I don't know. I mean, like, look, I'm not a tech person, so I can't, I don't know. But it just, I get the same bang off this that I got off 3D movies and 3D TVs when they were out a couple of years ago. And it was kind of like, who's paying $5,000 for this thing? Would you?
Yeah.
Off now,
And
come on.
They've tried a few times the 3D though, haven't they?
Oh, yeah,
They tried it big time after the first Avatar. That's when it got really intense. They tried it a few times around that, before that, after that, but it was a real intense period. And I was working as a tech journalist at this time, and it was James Cameron was like making a fortune out of Avatar. People weren't seeing it as like a new generation of cinema. Look where we are now. And it was all about like bringing that 3D experience to the home experience. And again, I see that as a misunderstanding of like the cinema as an experience. Like, they really didn't seem to understand that what we do at home when we consume that kind of entertainment is actually quite different to the cinematic experience. And this, all of the big players in TV started investing in 3D TV. It was all anyone would talk about for months, like for a good chunk of a year. I would say it was all 3D TV, 3D TV, 3D TV. And then it was like, no one wanted it. No one was paying for it, because you have a perfectly good TV at home that you don't have to wear glasses to watch, because you would have had to wear special glasses.
Yeah.
They were trying to work on glasses-free 3D TV, and that would involve like having, say, like the LEDs and stuff like that angled in certain ways that they project in different directions as opposed to be on a flat screen. Well, that'd be really, really complicated to work out for a technology that'd be prohibitively expensive and that no one actually wanted, because there's no need for it. We actually have really amazing televisions in our houses these days. Yeah. Like my basically my mother-in-law has one that is like nearly the size of half of her room, because she won it in a raffle.
Deadly.
It's unbelievable. I'm just like, that's a lot of TV you've got going on there.
Love it.
We've got one that I've like inherited from my sister, and she upgraded it, and it's like one of those clunky ones that still has a big bulbous back and everything, and I'm like, this still works fine.
Yeah,
but that's the other side.
We were only talking about that last week, Annie, about those big the tellies used to take up half your sitting room, like.
Yeah, like that whole flat screen stuff, that's because of like OLED technology and stuff like that. And like LEDs, like the things that I get really excited about in tech are those small things that we are nearly invisible to us now. We don't even think about, but like LEDs are why you have such great resolution in your smartphone screens. And they're also low energy, typically speaking now, because like people are now buying like fucking 60-inch TVs and stuff like that. They're not as low energy as they could be. But that's also interesting as well, because I was talking to someone recently who's involved in recycling, and figuring out the recycling of LED TVs and LCD TVs was a whole thing that she's worked out. And she's an Irish entrepreneur, and she's a scientist turned entrepreneur, and she figured out a way to create like this robotic system that can disassemble a TV. Because the problem was, like, you have all these different form factors of these tellies, but they're not all like the same. There's no real standards, because there's different sizes, different manufacturers and stuff like that. So to actually recycle them is really difficult, especially if you want one system for all TVs, all monitors. But she's figured that out, because she's a genius. She's telling me all about like the problem with like tech waste and stuff like that. And she says perfectly good TVs end up getting sent for recycling, and they could have been resold or reused instead of being sent for recycling. But what happens is, even the process of getting them to the recycling center, they normally get damaged in that process. And like repair is actually really, really difficult, because the way people manufacturers build things now, they fuse a lot of things together. They don't care for you to resell things. And there was another article recently about like pallets of fully functional, perfectly unboxed TVs getting sent to for shredding in landfill, because if they go onto the resale market, the value of the TVs that they're trying to sell in the new generation goes down. So there's a lot of like,
that's mental, isn't it? So
what about fast fashion? They don't talk about fast tech. That's what happens in tech as well.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you, is that fast tech?
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's the same thing goes on in tech. And the thing about tech is, like, this isn't just, textile and materials that could be reused. This is precious metals. Like, there's like fragments of gold and stuff like that being used. There's like these rare metals like indium and cobalt that are mined in atrocious settings, all in like kind of economically disadvantaged areas that have been exploited for these resources. And we just throw them into landfill, because once a year Apple brings out a new phone and goes, this one's green, buy this one. It's green.
But we're all suckers for that kind of shiny gimmick, aren't we? And it's like you hear a lot about it with like EVs and people talking about EVs being really good for the environment compared to, but then it's also a case of, but if you have to trade in your 3-year-old car and then you're going the stuff that goes into the batteries, where does that come from?
So
like
their batteries are even bigger, so there's more lithium needed for them, and they're currently, if you needed, say, because they'll need to be replaced, batteries will wear down eventually, especially if you're using it for a car, because it's such a highly energetic kind of process. The resources we currently have of like lithium and cobalt and the materials that they'll need for that, we could probably get through 2 cycles of EVs, and that's it.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. What? Because we're not recycling this stuff. Like, they're just like extracting all these precious metals, using them for tech, because they're all short-term thinkers, because they're all thinking, I'm a billionaire. If things go to shit, I'll move to Mars with Elon Musk and everything will be grand.
I think I'd rather be consigned to getting kicked in the rocks for eternity than go to Mars with Elon Musk, or anywhere with Elon Musk.
Go anywhere with Elon Musk.
That's one of the circles of hell, I think.
Yeah. The TV thing though is, because even I remember, like, as a kid, Mero, we were talking about this. Like, I always remember my granny's TV and the bulb thingy, for the technical term, going on it, and there was a fella who'd come around and fix it. Whereas now, if your telly breaks,
it's gone.
You don't bother getting it fixed. Nothing gets fixed anymore. You're just I'll get a new one.
Yeah, there are makers. There's people in this movement called like the maker movement, and they often do things like repair cafes. And I think, Togue Hackerspace, which is based in Blackpits in Dublin, they host repair cafes. And if you look up repair cafes, you hopefully will find one in your area, because they're not as well advertised as they could be, because they're volunteer-led groups.
Yeah.
Like, there's such a great idea. Yeah, because we don't fixing, and even the skills at repairing are falling off. So it's nearly like they talk about like barrel makers, the Coopers that make barrels for Asian whiskey and stuff like that. That's a skill that's dying off because it's not being passed down. Like general repair of electronics, which is a quite modern skill, that's being lost as well.
Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it? Like,
you used to always have a TV repairman in every estate, like.
Yeah.
Because you'd need it, and that's the thing, like those cathode things, and you'd feel the static on the front.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole different technology. Now it's all flat screen, and it kind of has. I sound like one of those saps who's like, you can just hear the quality of the vinyl. It's got a texture to it, a texture. And I do have a vinyl player and a vinyl collection, so I am not that asshole. But like there's a certain kind of like sanitization of products that has happened, and like things are just kind of like all slick and sexy, and it's a little less fun, I think.
Yeah. No, don't. I'm with you on the vinyl. Like, I mean, if I'm out and about, like I've got Spotify or one of those streaming things on my phone, but when I'm at home, vinyl above my head there, I just I'm with you on that. The little crackle, the little crackle it made. You know what I mean?
It's an experience. It's tactile,
Yeah.
The fast tech thing though, because I remember about 3 or 4 years ago, a friend of mine bought a TV on Amazon, and he was checking the delivery tracking, and they said they had delivered it, but they didn't. So we rang them up. Anyway, long story short, they sent them 2 TVs, and they basically said, is there a scratch on the box on the first one? And he said, yeah. And they said, well, you can keep it. But there was actually nothing. I got the TV in the end. There was nothing wrong with the TV.
Like, had it even cut through the box? It was just a scratch.
There was a scratch on the cardboard of the front, and there was nothing wrong with the actual TV. And they were like, yeah, just keep. So we got to keep 2 TVs, like.
Yeah, because even if you had returned that, a lot of the time it's the same as the thing that happens with fashion. When you return stuff, it's too much effort for them to process the return, to assess the quality of it. They just turf it out, goes into the bin.
Does it go in the bin in a clothes shop?
I couldn't believe the amount of tech that gets shredded, like literally shredded. Hard drives are getting shredded constantly because they don't believe in the security of wiping them, even though the security of wiping them is like proven to be like 99.999% effective these days. Just loads of technology just gets shredded into tiny little pieces.
So
that is absolutely mental, isn't it?
So, personal indulgence here from Aidan, right? So I've had this MacBook now for about 6 years, right? And it's at the point where it doesn't hold a charge at all. I have to have it plugged in if I want to use it, which is grand, doesn't bother me. But equally, I've been saying to my wife for the last little while, I think the next big purchase to do, I'm gonna get myself a new Mac. don't need to. This does everything that it does. It's just that. So, can I get a battery replacement done for it, or are they just gonna laugh at me and be like, "Get a new one, bud"?
You could like and you want to kind of find someone who knows Macs really, really well. And there's loads of great people out there who are even like authorized by Apple to repair Macs and stuff like that. Because Apple are just very sticky with this stuff now. They're opening up slightly more with this right to repair movement, but like Apple even has like screws that a normal screwdriver won't be able to unscrew. That's the kind of stuff that they use in their technology. They're called pentalobe screws, so it does stuff like that. Everything's very proprietary with Macs, so they tend to be trickier, but there's loads of people have gotten licensing and experience in repairing them. And also refurbished Macs are fantastic. So on the resale market, Apple's products are one of the best things you can get on resale.
Really?
Because they repair, like they last really long to begin with. Now I'm talking about their Macs, not their headset thingy. Their computers and their phones are really, really well made, and they last a really, really long time, even though they try and convince you to buy a new one every time they release a new one, and they'll try and deprecate it by bringing out software that will actually tank the machine eventually. And the longevity of their tech, it's kind of unmatched, just in my personal experience. And the people that are trained to repair it are actually of a really, really high standard, because they have to get certifications and stuff like that. And I have a refurbished Mac, and I know people who bought like refurbished iPhones and stuff like that, and they last them ages.
And where can you find these refurbished products?
There's actually a site called Refurbed. I think they're originally a Dutch company. They're definitely a European startup anyway. They launched in Ireland a couple of years ago, and they're doing really well in the Irish market. And then there's other sites as well. That's just the one I know off the top of my head. And they're a good one that I would recommend, because they thoroughly test everything, and it actually comes with a guarantee. Now, it's not like the kind of like length of a guarantee that you'd get from buying new, but you actually get a guarantee. So like people who are a bit wary of buying refurbished, thinking they'll have no kind of recourse if something goes wrong with it, they're a kind of safe path to go down.
Yeah, the refurb stuff is good. And I know, like, I don't know, like, my phone broke about 2 or 3 years ago. The phone I had broke, and it wasn't due an upgrade yet. So rather than forking out the 800 or 900 quid for a new iPhone, I think, is it called Mint? Is there something called Mint or something like that? I think it was a refurb. Anyway, I don't know. But yeah, I got a refurb done, and it was great. It lasted me the 18 months then, and I was like deadly delighted with that. And it was great. So yeah, recycled tech isn't actually that bad, like, But people are just so obsessed with the new. They all want the iPhone 411 or whatever we're on,
Yeah, but the cafe repairs is a great initiative. And the refurb side, I'm just learning new things all the time off you, Elaine. It's ridiculous.
Nice.
I'm just checking the name of it. Mint Plus, I think it's called.
Oh, I think I might have seen an ad on that for that.
Yeah, but anyway,
one of the sites, is it?
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw an ad for it, or maybe somebody shared it somewhere, and that's how I found it, because I'm not very good. I mean, I know Google is easy to use and all, but even that for me is a stretch at times.
Google has gone bad.
Very bad. What's the story there?
Right. So Google has gone shit because of capitalism.
Really?
Everything's shit because of capitalism. So Google basically has been providing us all with this fantastic free service for years and years and years. Since 1998, it's been like the word in search. Like literally it's the word we use to do an internet search. But it has always struggled to make money from that. So its main source of revenue is advertising. Like it has other things, like it has Google Workplace, where you can use its suite of tools, like things like Gmail with add-ons and stuff like that, but still offers a lot of Gmail for free. It offers a lot of tools for free. Google Maps being free. Google Maps is the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And it's free. And it also, like, you don't have to read tweets from Elon Musk. Like, what an amazing app.
Yeah, exactly.
But they've just been trying to crack the whole advertising tied in with their technology for years and years and years, because being a multi-billion dollar, approaching $1 trillion company isn't enough these days. You have to make more money and be valued at more. Things have to keep going up forever and ever. Like, it's insane. And because they've been pushing so many ad products into search has gone really, really bad. So
awful.
Notice any search, even if it's not for a product, you will get some sort of a product sell in your search results now. And it takes, I think it's about the 5th or 6th result a lot of the time before you actually get your
where you want
search results that aren't sponsored, that aren't those kind of boxed out product windows or something like that. And it's all because they're trying to just make money.
I noticed that ages ago, and I was wondering what the story was. But even about, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, you put in what you're looking for. it would have been, it said at the bottom, one of like a gazillion results. And now you've feck all, like, you've like one page or something of results.
There was a whole thing. There was a whole
Mental.
show made of it. And you ever heard of Dave Gorman's Google Whack?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It was great. I don't think you could do it now, but at the time that he was doing it, it was so basically his whole thing was you had to put in 2 words. They had to be actual words from the dictionary, put them in, and the idea was that you find the one result out of the millions, billions, trillions, whatever were on Google, and you had to create a chain of these. It's absolutely brilliant. But what you were saying there, Mero, just remind me of it because like that now your results they just don't. I don't. It does take me longer to find stuff. I thought it was just me. I was saying I'm a bit crap at Google for some reason. I thought it was just me, but now it seems like okay, right. This makes more sense that I'm not as dumb as I thought I was, and it's just the way.
So now, Elaine, they're just charging people to put their results up on their site.
All of the first like 5-6 results are to do with paid products, and then the other side of that is actually Google has another problem where its system is gamed a lot of the time. Now it's got like a really, really smart algorithm to kind of filter out the good results from the bad results. And it does that by things like there's a thing called PageRank, where it will know if a site or a page is referred to a lot by other sites, then it's more likely to be kind of an authoritative source. Like it's a very logical conclusion to make. And that's why you will tend to get, say, like IMDb and things that they also know to be solid databases that they even use in their products. So like IMDb, if you search for a film, is going to come up near the top.
Yeah.
If you search for another concept or whatever, Wikipedia is going to come up near the top.
Yeah, yeah.
But beyond that, when it comes to like just other content online, and like they filter out news websites because they've also got a Google News product. So that kind of gets its own thing. So your BBC and New York Times and stuff like that, they'll show up in other little boxes. But say like, you know, an independent publication versus a blog versus like a chat on Reddit or something like that. And actually a real good hack that people are using on Google these days is just, if you have a specific question, just type that question followed by Reddit, because you're actually more likely to get a valuable result from the Reddit community than from Google shows you. Yeah. So it's a handy little hack.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So like the content online, because it got so easy, and like this is even pre-AI, I don't know we're going to have that conversation, but it got so easy to just throw up shit online that just meant like Google crawling the web and trying to index the web and decide what's value content versus what's a lot of crap from some rando. It's actually very hard for it to do that.
Yeah.
And like people just jump on trending topics all the time. Like if you look up Vision Pro now, you will get the tech news websites, and all the news websites in the world will have covered that. And I mean all of them, even ones that have just been spun up to just generate Google advertising. So like even as a publisher myself, like we would have a problem with like people scraping your website, replicating your content on their own, and it's just so that they can sell ads. They're not even producing any content, and they would rank higher in some search results than we would, because they were just spewing all of the trending content stolen from other sites onto their own site, and all done automatically, no human effort involved. And it, like, this is all pre-AI. You could just scrape content and throw it up there.
So is there a nice alternative then?
To Google?
Yeah, search like I remember using Ask Jeeves.
Yeah. Oh, Ask Jeeves, he was great. He had like the little butler. Yeah, and then there was like Alta Vista. That's like going way back.
I tried to use DuckDuckGo, but I just thought it was shy.
It has gotten better. It's early days. It was a bit ropey, but I do think now, like with Google getting so bad, it's definitely maybe worth a revisit. Bing
good.
No, I don't think it's very good. Like even with Google being bad, Bing is still a bit sloppy as well. And now, because I'm even more wary to recommend Bing, because they're so keen on integrating AI into the search. And the reason why AI is the worst thing you can do for search is like the thing about search is people want answers to things when they do a search. And even like if you go to Reddit, you at least know that that's like, you know, a person giving an answer to your query, and like that person might be someone with no knowledge, or they might be someone with exactly the knowledge you know, but you can kind of investigate that yourself. And I think we understand when we see Reddit comments on stuff like to do that. Whereas the authoritative way that these chatbots give you what they call answers, it is terrible, because they're not answers at all. It's a generated predictive text paragraph, and they call that an answer to a query.
That's mental, isn't it? And like, yeah, go on then.
So I was going to say, like, this acts as a great segue to AI, and you're probably sick to your teeth, Elaine, of having questions about AI and all at this point. But it seems to be what everyone is obsessed with at the moment, particularly the whole chat GPT thing, and they're coming to take your job, and the end of the human race is nigh, and all this kind of stuff. Like, what is going on?
I don't see any pros to this at all, and actually scares me a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
So I think my first question to you guys is what do you think AI is?
Right. For me,
Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise in a film.
yeah, John Connor's Skynet Terminator.
Yeah.
No, for me, right, AI to me was like years ago when they made that computer that played chess, and it would learn with everybody that I played against, to the point in where like it just couldn't be beaten. It was just, do you know what I mean? So that was AI, but now it's a bit. It seems like it has a brain, like it's actually
it's
like
predictive
proper.
text, to me.
Yeah, like, but it's predictive text, but it's also kind of like, isn't the whole thing that it learns with every question, like that you put in information and or am I going down the Skynet route with that?
Like, you're both right in many ways, and the reason why I asked it is because I think it's a really misunderstood term, and I think that's the fault of the hype machine around it. So, like, I mean, talking about the losing your jobs thing, GPT-3, I've been writing about for a long time and been aware of for a long time. And that wrote an article about itself, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe more than that. And like, that was fascinating. And I was a bit like, oh crap, AI is going to take my job. Hasn't happened yet. So, like, people who are getting scared by the innovations in the last 6 months, bear that in mind, like, because this stuff has actually been around for much longer than the last 6 months or whatever. And it has been quite advanced for that time. It's just the hype machine just went into overdrive in the last couple of months.
Was there any reason for that hype machine, Elaine?
It was that release of ChatGPT and GPT-3 that I mentioned. That's the model that underpins ChatGPT now. I'll explain exactly what that means in a second. But ChatGPT reached 100 million users faster than I think any product release ever. I think it was like at 1 million within its first 24 hours. So just the popularity of that release and everyone chattering about it online just meant that everyone was talking about AI, and then every other company that's involved in tech in any way, whether they were an AI company or not, were like, yeah, we do AI, give us money for investment, because investment was also shrinking at that point, and investors were pulling back out of tech, and they'd been given free money to tech for like 4 straight years. And then they were suddenly like, oh, actually, no, there's been a pandemic and now there's a war going on, so let's not give so much money away. And the way to get money out of investment was to be like, we're doing AI. AI is cool. So everything snowballed into, like, if the motivations of people were to like boost AI to make money, well, then everyone is talking about AI, and all press releases are mentioning AI, and everyone's pitching stories about AI, and then everyone's using the AI. So that's why it blew up in the last few months. But I think that problem with the misunderstanding of exactly what it is, because it does mean a lot of different things, is because it actually is a whole field of study. That's why it means so many things. It's a bit like asking someone, what does computer science mean? And computer science has given us lots of things. And AI is a branch of computer science. It's not even the whole thing by itself. It would be, I think, easier if people understood it by the name complex computing, which is less sexy. But that's basically what it is. So artificial intelligence is the name of the whole field of science around this. But what the goal is to make computations that do complex things. So instead of like simple if this then that logic processes, and all that kind of logic is fed into computer programming, and computer programming is about kind of interpreting specific coding languages. What if computers could understand natural language the way we speak to each other? And what if it could see, air quotes, see things and interpret what things are in what it has in its field of vision? And that's what they mean by complex computing. It's just being able to do things that we take for granted as people, but are actually really, really complex for a computer. And it's why you see things like, prove you're not a robot by picking out the traffic lights in this image. You were training an AI while you were doing that. Yeah.
How?
Because you were like, this was part of like the training system where like the AI may have been having trouble identifying it from those images, and you as a human come in and say, oh, it's these ones are the traffic lights, and then the AI learns from that.
They're going to have to do one
Yeah,
thing
we were
where
doing
it's
free training for these AIs, the same way we've provided free data to all the social media platforms for them to learn how to exploit us. Like, oh, yay, cool. So yeah, like complex computing is just doing a bit further than if this then that. It's not like the aspirational goal is to kind of replicate the human brain, but like we barely know how well the human brain works. Like even the best neuroscientists in the world would still struggle to tell you exactly every single function of the brain and how that works. So that's just really aspirational. And I think that's like what people envisage as. They kind of have taken the aspirational thing of AI and that's become what we believe it to be. But all it is doing complex tasks. And complex tasks for computer can be as simple as telling a green apple from a tennis ball. Like that's complex for computers to do, and being able to see and identify things. And we use AI all the time. Like if you use Face ID to unlock your phone, that's computer vision technology. So that's AI. So people are feeling like, oh, it's coming. It's like, it's here. It's been here for years.
Yeah, you're telling everyone to relax.
So then when we see things like these, like I know the images or whatever have terrible difficulty with hands and stuff like that, right? That seems to be the thing that everybody gets wrapped up on. But when you see some of the things and hear some of the things where it's somebody's voice or it's a video clip and like this deep fake technology, is that stuff, because that's like I've been fooled by it once or twice where I was sitting there going, that is that, like I've had to go off and check if it's real. It made me actually go off and check. Other people aren't going to do that.
Last week, yes, a friend of mine sent me Liam Gallagher singing a Smith song, and I was like, "What?" It was on YouTube, and I was like, "What? That doesn't even sound like Liam Gallagher." You know,
it's that kind of stuff that I'm like, oh, that's weird. Because like, how quickly are they going to, I don't know, mimic Biden's voice, declaring war on somebody or so? Do you know what I mean? Like that's an extreme, maybe, but yeah.
No, they can do that already, and they've gotten it down to like some really advanced versions can replicate an entire voice with maybe like 2-3 minutes of audio recording. So like just the fact that you guys have a podcast out there with all of these audio recordings of yourselves, you'd be very easy to replicate in audio. Now you'd still have to have the technology to do it. Some models are better than others, the same way you will have seen some image generators have been better than others. And you were asking about pros earlier. There is actually like good things that can be done with this technology, like Charlie Bird's voice having been replicated. That was using that technology. Now there's a lot of issues around tech in accessibility and disability, which is really, really complex. And even going even to like, prosthetics and stuff like that, it's kind of like, rather than accepting people as they are, trying to conform them to the model that we'd like to accept. Putting that to the side for one moment, Charlie Bird's voice was very important to him. He was a broadcaster who was known for his voice. So that was a really monumental thing that was done for him. And that
was brilliant, yeah.
The company involved in that is a Dublin company called Mero Software. Like that's amazing work. And they were telling me like how they had worked so hard to get it down to like the minimum amount of audio to reproduce someone's voice. And they're trying to do it for this healthcare reason, in this health space, or in this assistive technology space. But that you immediately get horrible use cases as well. And even like badly intentioned ones. So Amazon with Alexa was kind of selling the idea that like you can replicate your dead granny's voice. Isn't that cool? So that could be abused really easily, especially with the amount of hacking of Alexas that can go on. Or you could replicate, maybe not someone you know's voice, but like a voice that sounds real and do a robocall that like, steals money from someone. And then with deepfakes that do the visuals and stuff like that. And again, these don't even have to be good to be believed, because a lot of the time, say like if you have a deep fake and it's a bit like, potato quality video, but it's getting forwarded loads of times on WhatsApp on a small screen. So sometimes they don't even have to be good to be effective and to spread misinformation. But the other thing about technology that happens all the time, as soon as you have technology, you have sex stuff built around it. And that was in our first episode of the new season of For Tech's Sake. And that's very true. And the second you were able to generate AI, I think it was Spility Diffusion was one of the early image generators that came out there. Straight away, people made porn with it. And some of them shut down the ability to make porn with it, and some of them let it run. And the ones that let it run were finding that people were using it to deepfake, famous people that they knew and stuff into sexual imagery, which is
Oh geez, and then selling it like
just even so like it was just for themselves or just to share online, put on Reddit, whatever. Like it's just and like a lot of the times with technologists, they never think through these bad use cases. Like the sex stuff is so basic, like it's been proven time and time again that straight away you build something, people are going to try and fuck it or get off with it. And the fact that they never think that part through is insane to me, because it's like that's always what happens.
Yeah.
And they never think through the bad stuff. Like so many times they've released chatbots online, and again, like there's the whole problem with like their data set that they're built off of is often like internet content, and it's typically unvetted, because you're talking about like insane amounts of data. Like a human couldn't process it, a team of massive amounts of humans could still struggle to process it all. But because it's just like training on internet data, and the internet is full of crap as much as it's full of good stuff, they pick up really problematic stuff. So there was a chatbot called Tay that Microsoft released years ago. I think that was around 2015 or something like that as well. Like within 24 hours, I think, became racist, misogynistic, and stuff like that.
So like who'd be using this?
So this was just a chatbot. So she's called Tay, and I think she was released onto Twitter so she could tweet with people, and just whatever way people pushed it, because you have to blame people for this as well. They kind of push the models in different ways. The models aren't thinking, the models are generating results, and they're trying to give you outputs that you want. So they're actually taking the signals from you. And that's another thing to really bear in mind when you're interacting with this stuff. When guys interact with it and they're always like, the AI was flirting with me. And I'm like,
you think you are? But like it was interesting because I was listening to your latest episode, and I was watching a documentary ages ago on Japan, and there was a lot of there's a lot of men in Japan in the sex industry that love the blow up dolls, but not blow up dolls. They're like silicone dolls, and they put stuff in to talk to them. But before they get to that stage, they love talking to a profile like a chatbot, and sometimes that chatbot is obviously it's a computer, it's being generated, and then it's like, where do they go then? Because they actually, when they're enjoying the conversation and it's then time to meet as it would be in the real world, there's nobody there.
Oh yeah. There is this whole space with chatbot companions. Like there's a whole company called Replica that is, I believe, using GPT-3 to underpin its technology. And it was sold as just a companion app, but again, people wanted to have sex with it. So they had sexy erotic role play features built in, and then they disabled them, and people talked about how it felt like they'd been broken up with, because they felt like they had a relationship with this thing. And there's a lot going on there. Like there's so much psychology.
There's a lot going on.
I did speak to a scientist about this, and the way he explained, he's a lot of expertise in this whole area, like in terms of the psychology side and the technical side. And he was kind of explaining that there is good things to this. Like it's nearly like journaling is recommended a lot of times in mental health counseling, because it enables you to kind of offload things that you're feeling, and in a way that won't come back at you in any way, because you're not offloading on a friend who might have any judgments to do with that, or might like remember that and use it against you in any way. Like not a friend if they do that, but like you can feel safe to offload things by putting them into a journal. Doing it with something that can actually respond back with positive inputs that are maybe or helpful prompts can also be really good. So there's a lot of work going on in looking at how chatbots might be used in that kind of way to just support people who need to go through that process and are uncomfortable, even with a counselor, to actually voice the problems that they're having or the issues that they're having. But like, it's just so, you have to be so careful with that stuff, because it so easily becomes like this, again, like you have all the good intentions in the world in doing something like that, building something like that, but then a company comes along, monetizes it, like makes barriers towards getting it, steals data from vulnerable people on top of it, and also with a crisis in mental health services and an AI coming in to fill a gap. It's like the morality of that as well.
It's like you said at the start of the show, the capitalism gets involved, and then fucking hell, like I'm all for that kind of concept if it's giving people like a companion, so to speak. you know, and if they do kind of tick the boxes in the mental health side of things as well. But then some fucker comes along and wants to monetize it, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like all the
it's like
scientists,
everything. Sorry,
yeah,
Lane.
just all the scientists want it to be like what they call human in the loop AI. So this stuff shouldn't be like operating by itself. It should be assistive. It should be helping people. The way it helps doctors, like because doctors, an individual like radiologist would struggle to scan all of the available information that is there on like scans to identify, say, cancer or something like that. But an AI can help them do that and help them to identify problems earlier and better than they could by themselves. That's when you got assistive AI. It's really, really prominent in the medical space.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
where it's very, very useful. But it shouldn't be like let's just let AI take care of that problem, because we're just so good. We've been proven so good at outsourcing problems in this problematic way for years. We've done it to people for a really long time, and we outsource our waste to other countries, and we outsource our customer support to other countries, let them be yelled at so that I don't have to be yelled at in my cushy job. And like the AI training as well, like people kind of think of it as like, oh, it learns by itself. Like, as I said, we've trained it by clicking traffic lights and boxes. And there's also this thing called Mechanical Turk, which is basically like a micro jobs website. And it's really, really popular in low economy companies and communities that have really low income opportunities. And they sign up to these like micro jobs on Mechanical Turk, and that could be like labeling data for these massive data sets and saying like, that's a cat, that's a dog, that's a cat, that's a dog, that's a cat, that's a dog. So that there's actually loads of people behind this, but again, they're exploited poor workers that don't have a voice.
I think it feels like everything it's never the science or the technology or whatever. It's the bad actors who then see a gap and go, I can use that to do that.
Yeah,
And,
of course.
you know, you can spend hours, days, weeks, months, years talking about AI, and the conversation will definitely continue. But before we let you go, Elaine, I'm always fascinated. At least once every couple of months, somebody, either a friend or my partner or whatever, will say to me, Alexa's listening to me, or my phone is listening to me. Because they'll have said something in a conversation somewhere, and sure enough, then they get an ad for whatever it is that they've been talking about. Are we being spied on? Do we need to start putting on tinfoil hats? And like, does Leo Varadkar know what type of toilet roll I buy?
I get asked this all the time as well. And I literally had an incident in the past week where someone said it's very similar story to me, and it's happened to me as well. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility, because you put a speaker in your house that's owned by a private company that trades on user data and is built to listen for you to say the wake word, which is Alexa, or Google or Siri or whatever it is. So it's not meant to record anything until it identifies the wake word. And you know, it's an imperfect solution. It won't always get it right. Sometimes you'll say something that sounds somewhat like the wake word, and it will just perk up, maybe say something to you, and then it will shut up because it's realized that it's not its time, not you. And it's, if you have signed up for it, check your privacy policy, check what you signed up for. If you have signed up for, approving the service, that data of a mistaken awakening will actually be sent for review, so that they kind of try to minimize the amount of times that happens. So they try to improve the service. So when you sign up to improve the service, think of that, because a lot of people tick that box without thinking of it, because it's presented as, this is good to make the product better, and this is good for you, this is good for everyone. But like with those speakers especially, really think that through, because that's what that means. Normally the nothing will be sent from the device unless you approve that, and otherwise it will actually conduct a search, and that's sending information out because that's, you asked for the weather or the cinema listings or something like that. So it's meant to do early stage kind of processing on device, is what they call it, and not connect with the internet unless it's really identified that you have requested something. So it should be on request. But again, that's not to say it's not possible. That's not to say that Amazon recordings haven't been used in criminal investigations in the States. They have. That's not to say that Amazon has forgotten to delete recordings or neglected to delete recordings that it should have. It got a recent fine just in the last couple of weeks for doing that. And this was recordings of children that it was definitely not supposed to have stored. So companies make mistakes. And I would genuinely say, I do think that this was in the case of the storage of the recordings and stuff like that, that's companies making mistakes, having loads of processing data to do and being lazy about it and not being methodical about it. They can spy on you, but why would they? Like, there's so many millions of users of these products. Like, we can get a bit self-centered and be like, it's spying on me specifically. What it probably did was created, you wouldn't believe what your digital profile would give away about you. So if it's, say, like you had a conversation with someone about this product and then that product turned up in your Instagram feed, the person who's in the room with you when you talked about that product might have looked it up on their phone. Your phones would have pinged that you were in a location together and that you have a relationship together. And it will create a footprint there that this person was interested in that product and then went on and buy it. So maybe let's send it to other people in their network to see if they also want to buy it. So it can actually be done way simpler than having to listen to you.
That is mental though, isn't it? Because like I felt it's happened to me before. Even I remember talking to someone last summer and talking about booking a holiday. And then I remember coming home. I was in Bosnia last June and I came home and I remember talking to someone about Sarajevo. And then that evening, like this is about a month later, after I came home, then Visit Sarajevo ads came up on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I was like, how the hell did that happen? Like,
sometimes it can be so specific, and sometimes you can forget the thing that you interacted with that made that part of your digital footprint. Like, and it's happened to me. And even like when I know what's happening, I'm creeped out. Like when I had booked a trip away recently, Instagram started telling me to buy my duty free via the Loop, and I hadn't told Instagram that I was going away, but my Gmail had the confirmation from my booking.
Jesus,
and then like my Gmail is what I use to log into Instagram. So like that's your digital footprint. You're actually creating a lot of these interconnections yourself, and I'm not putting it on the user or anything like that. Like, it's creepy how this is done. A lot of tech, I gotta like describe it. It's like it's the shop assistants that no one likes. Like it's too invasive. I'm like, I can handle this myself. It's fine. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I'm okay. Go, leave me alone, will you? So that's like that to the phone. Now, fucking stop.
It's like, but right, it's
that's
like,
mental.
I get it. It's useful, but it's terrifying equally. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you buy something.
It makes sense now. It all makes sense how you described it.
Or is it just like it's presented as useful? All this stuff is always presented as useful, but what it really is, it's useful to them to make money. Because you know what else they do? They do that thing where they're like, store your credit card details. That's good for you. That's not good for you.
No, I
That's
never
not
do
good
that.
for you at all.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, you're liable to a hack then, because how much do you trust that company to protect your credit card information? And B, friction in the consumer process is the best thing that can happen to you and your wallet. Because if it's hard to do, you will second guess your purchase. Once you have to like get up off your seat and pick up the card, you're like, actually, maybe I don't want a year's supply of Tao right now.
Always want a year's supply of Tao.
Yeah.
Always want.
I wish I got that message during lockdown, the first lockdown, when I bought a Q Cullen statue.
Yeah.
You bought a Q Cullen statue?
An ornament.
Why?
I was pissed drunk in the March of lockdown, the first month, and I completely forgot about it. Arrived in May. And have a Q Cullen statue up there.
I really want this to be one of those eBay stories where people thought they bought a sofa for a bargain, but it's like for a doll's house.
No, not quite that. But it's still when it arrived, I was like, what the fuck is that? And then I had to go through my receipts, and I was like, oh, that was the night I did. What was the thing at the time? You're doing that party app.
Oh yeah.
That lived and died.
Nostalgic now.
Yeah.
But like you're dead right though, because the bit of friction is the amount of impulse purchases I have made based on the fact that Apple Pay is an option. And that's I deleted my cards off it purely because I was like, I'm after buying like 12 pairs of runners in 3 weeks. I need to fucking get a grip here. Like,
just because you watched Save the Last Dance.
It's not Save the Last Dance, Graham. That's a completely different film.
What's it called again?
Just called The Last Dance, Graham.
Or The Last.
Both great films.
They are both great films, but entirely
two great films. Elaine, you know what you're saying, just before I let you go, because it's on my mind since you said it. The Charlie Bird software, that company. So would that company, in order to make that, now this might sound a dummy question, but would they have had to approached RTE for archive of his voice in order to do all that?
Yeah, so obviously with Charlie, they were so lucky that so many recordings of his voice existed. And because like by the time he contacted them, he wasn't able to do the recordings himself. They have worked with people that know that they are going to eventually lose their voice, and they can, like, you know, they're not broadcasters and don't have banks of recordings of their voice, and they can record in advance. But with Charlie, they didn't have that advantage, but they had all of that content. And Charlie's wife, I believe, is also a producer in RTE. And I think it might have been her idea to approach them because she had worked on a TV show
Wow.
called The Big Life Fix. It's a great show. I really hope they do another version of it. With one of those people who knew she was going to lose her voice and had recorded in advance. So she remembered that, got in touch with the guys at Merino Software, and then that's how it happened.
Unbelievable. That's amazing, isn't it? Because I always felt that they had it so soon, you know, because he was on the Late Late Show with his voice, and the next minute, 4 or 5 months later, he's on the Late Late Show with the assistive technology, and I just thought this is superb, like amazing.
Yeah. I was really like user centric the way they worked with the people to build that technology, and technology always is best when it's done that kind of way, as opposed to, and that's why with tech for disabilities and tech for assistive tech and stuff like that, it's really important to do it that way, because you really understand what people actually need, and you're definitely, you know, with all the best intentions, you need to get that information, because you might think you know what's best for people, but no one knows best for people than themselves.
Absolutely. Once they just don't take over my sport, the wheelchair basketball, like Robot Wars or something, controlling us. I don't want Danny controlling me from the terraces.
Like that. like the episode of Father Ted that I have the poster there in the background.
Yeah.
Father Jack in the wheelchair.
Years ago, like I was talking to, again, like an Irish entrepreneur. She works on cybersecurity for medical devices. And the reason why I was talking to her is because it might have been The West Wing or House of Cards. It was one of those political dramas, had done an episode where a pacemaker got hacked. And I was like, could this happen? And again, not beyond the realms of possibility, because there's more tech being input into those medical devices, but she specifically works in the space of protecting those devices and making sure that shit can't happen.
Yeah.
Well, from the last episode of For Tech's Sake, did we not establish that vibrators can be hacked?
Yeah. Isn't that fun?
Like, what information is on a vibrator that hackers want?
Well, sometimes people are just hacking things just to fuck with people.
Literally.
That wasn't even on purpose. But it's a very strange one. Like, I mean, spend your time getting credit card details off the deep web, you weirdo.
Yeah, like it's...
why are you doing this? But it was also like a lot of them are doing it just to prove how easy it was, because a lot of the times, like that whole era when everything was going smart, which basically meant internet connected, and this is why you shouldn't use the language that they use for these. Internet connected, complex computing, let's use these terms. But they would put chips into everything, and they weren't necessarily people who were experienced building technology, so they had default settings on all the cybersecurity around these internet connections. So it was kind of like, you know, 000 for your PIN, like security settings on the Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was just like a real lesson in connecting things to the internet and the things that can happen, especially when you let people do that willy-nilly without any kind of, I don't know, like product liability requirements. And that's something that's coming down the line for AI, is like AI liability. Because like if an AI does something that causes you to be judged too harshly in a sentencing, now it's in Europe, it's not going to be allowed to use in justice cases. It stops you getting a job because it scanned your CV and found that people like you don't generally do this job, and that's because of industrial bias and not because like there's anything wrong with you. Again, not it's if the EU AI Act comes to bear the way it's meant to do, it won't be able to be used for stuff like this. But who is liable if AI causes harm?
Exactly.
So that's what they're trying to do.
It's like the Irish Times article that it was actually, this is AI. This wasn't that journalist. They didn't fit the journalist. Like that was when I was thinking, this is for the arts and for journalism, for media. This is going to be a bit mad here.
Yeah, like that Irish Times.
I saw heated discussions about that article online, and it wasn't even fucking real.
Yeah, no, it was. I saw Brianna Perkins talking about it, and she was saying it is a topic that she had seen written about elsewhere. So it wasn't like something unheard of as like a topic for debate.
Right.
I really curious about the motivations of the person who did this, because it's a very strange thing to do, and the Irish Times investigation
Very.
is still ongoing. But like the thing about that is, it's like on the internet, no one knows you're a dog is one of the oldest jokes about the internet. It was a New Yorker cartoon, I think, and it's like, a dog at a computer saying that. I can't believe we've got to 2023 and people haven't realized that yet. Like, someone is out of the blue trying to contribute to your publication, and you have high standards as a publication, like you're the paper of record for Ireland. You should probably communicate with that person and vet them somewhat.
Yeah.
And what was really shocking to me was what people said, that there was no online presence for this person. And I'm not saying you have to have an online presence to be a writer, but if I'm going to shortcut things and not actually contact you directly and speak to you about who you are and what you're about, because I don't know you from Adam and you're trying to contribute to my publication. If I'm going to shortcut that, I'm going to Google you. And that would raise a red flag if you have online presence. And then I would be like, well, I can't do the shortcut method. I'm going to have to try and reach out to this person and contact them and vet them. Do you have to vet?
Have a Zoom.
It's like, I mean, my 9 to 5 is dealing with media stuff, and we'd get media queries in from all sorts. And if I don't recognize the name, the first thing I'm doing is like that, having a look around to see, have they even got a blog? Have they got anything that this is a legitimate query and it's not some fucking shady stuff? Or, like, I was baffled that this got through whatever nets are in place by like, as you said, the paper of record. Like, it just seemed to me that somebody dropped, and I'm not trying to attribute like blame to a single person here or whatever. Mistakes happen, shit happens, but it just seemed incredible that it had got as far as it had. And it was only after the fact that someone was like, nobody checked, nobody.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's probably like, it's probably not that someone, thought, oh, let's just publish and disregard our policy. It could have even been a miscommunication, like a chain of command, someone passes it on and means for someone to vet it, but they don't understand that, they think just publish it. Things like that can happen very, very easily.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's actually like, it's a really interesting thing with tech. Like, the more at a remove we work, and like the bigger companies get, and they can get big and still communicate with one another because of tech, we actually are more vulnerable to these things. Like, even with cybersecurity and phishing, like the fact that I could look up now your company and where you work, I could have probably from LinkedIn find out who your like reporting manager is, dupe their email, send you an email that looks like it's from them, saying open this file right away and fill in this information. And that's done all the time.
I am going to delete my LinkedIn straight away.
Yeah.
It's not that you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. You should still be able to have LinkedIn.
No, I know. Yeah.
The solution there is that, like, in your workplace, you actually do need to be connected with people. You maybe need to have like a Teams chat or a Slack chat where you only connect with people that you work with, and you can say, "Just got this email from you. I just want to check that that's legit." What's that about? Like, if you don't have the ability to do that, and if you're very disconnected from the people you work with, that's how you get hacked.
I'm always amazed by the amount of information people put on LinkedIn. Always amazed. Like, people who have, like, everything about their school, like everything about their education, every bit of work detail they've ever done. And I'm like, I'm nervous for you, but like, it's just
I'm going through your security questions now and being like, I know what school and what street they grew up on.
All that kind of stuff. It's just like,
I know your mom's
that's a
maiden
lot
name.
of info, But Elaine, it's been great talking to you, and it's always fascinating. Like, tech blows my mind in every way, and it's mostly just through sheer ignorance on my side. But thanks so much for your time this evening, and all the best for tech's sake. I'm looking forward to listening to more of that now.
And Elaine, is there a frequency in which you're on Ireland AM, or is it just once a month or so?
It's literally once a month now. It's not any set time of the month or anything like that. And I was on twice last month because someone was on holidays. So like, at least once a month. I'm on the radio every Monday night with Matt Cooper, not talking about tech, talking about TV, because I'm also mad into TV and media and stuff like that. So that's where you can find me.
Deadly. Ireland AM should get you on more than once a month. Who do I write to?
Oh, directly to Tommy.
Elaine, thanks so much, and Bowser shit.
Big thank you to Elaine there for our time and for putting us wise on some things and alleviating fears about AI, while also making me absolutely terrified of LinkedIn and me Alexa.
And Elaine never said about her Twitter account, but she can be found at Critical Red Pen on Twitter.
It's a great name. I love that. I'm always talking about red pen and things and work. That's a great name.
Yeah, and her podcast is excellent. I've recently, I think I said there in the interview, I saw Elaine maybe a couple of months ago on Order AM, and I started following her and listening to the podcast, and it was just excellent. Very easy to listen to.
I'm a big fan of people who are so comfortable in their knowledge and are such good communicators that they can make something really complex and intimidating very simple and engaging.
Yeah, and Elaine's a brilliant communicator, and even when she's on the TV, it's just so clear and concise and accessible. I think she's brilliant.
Absolutely.
For a Bowls fan.
Absolutely. Would you behave yourself, Graham? Would you, for God's sake?
Where can anyone listen to us, Danjo Murray?
They can get us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, WTSpod.com, of course, Stitcher, Podbean, Podcast Republic, Podcast Addict. Anywhere and everywhere you can get a podcast. You can get all 300 plus episodes of this award-winning audio presentation featuring me and my good friend Graham Mero Merrigan. You can also, if you wish, follow us on the social medias. We're on Elon Musk's website at Merrigan Mania, at Danjo Murray, and we're on Mark Zuckerberg's site, part of the metaverse, I believe, is the term he likes to use, the Instagram, and that's the same usernames, at Danjo Murray, at Merrigan Mania. And of course, if you're looking to find us in person, Graham will be signing autographs in Dewberry Books on... Sorry, it's the one in Stillorgan you're in, isn't it?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have a book right now. He just sits outside it and he signs bits of paper for people.
Sit outside eating rolling donut and signing autographs.
Yeah, don't give him a lotto ticket because technically he gets to keep it then if it's the winner. So
I'll sign the back of it.
Yeah, you'll have to give him something else to sign. He will sign body parts for what it's worth, so long as they're big enough. Isn't that the way you do it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, look, that's it for this week. Big thanks to Elaine. Mero, thank you as well to you. I'm going to go enjoy the last evening sun. I might have an ice cream.
And the sun is beaming into your room there and it looks lovely. So go and enjoy it. Until next time.
I have Biscoff ice cream downstairs, Graham.
Will you send me some vision of that?
I will send you a vision of that. Yes, until next time.
And until next time, I had a Raffaello ice cream, which I loved. Until next time, clear eyes.
About 5 until next time. It's full hearts.
Until next time, clear eyes. Can't lose.
Until next time.
Until next time. Good luck.